Okay, I have 1 o'clock, so I think I'm going to get us started here. Like I said, just if you have questions, send them into the webinar. I'll answer them at the end. We do record all these webinars, so if you want the recording, if you're attending, we'll send it to you. If you can attend a future webinar, just register and you'll get it anyway. Today we're going to talk about Connecture and Sunfire. Before we do that, I'll just mention I see some new names on here. So this is Ed Crow with Crow & Associates. We're an NMO out of Connecticut, licensed in all 50 states. We specialize in Medicare, although we work with all lines of business. These two platforms, Connecture and Sunfire, are really the two main national platforms for online enrollment. We offer both to agents at no cost. You can use one or the other or both if you'd like, at no cost to you. We have a lead program, a variety of programs. If you have any interest in those things, we will, we'll email you whether you're interested or not, but we'll send you an email kind of listing the things we do. But if you have any questions, certainly just give us a call or email me, and we'd be happy to talk to you about those things. For today, we're going to talk about Connecture versus Sunfire. As I mentioned, there's two national platforms that allow for Medicare Advantage, PDP, and supplement enrollments. These are the two main ones. Connecture is the real name of Connect for Medicare. Connect for Medicare we've branded. That's a trademark name, but it's the company's Connecture. And then Sunfire is really a company that is a competitor of theirs that does the same thing, so that's why we use both of them. Usually when I talk to agents, it's kind of a 50-50 thing. About half of them prefer Connecture, while the other half will prefer Sunfire, and I can definitely see the argument for both sides of it. But we'll talk about both today, highlights of both, future changes that they have slated for the near future, and then I'll briefly at the end go over how to access both systems. This webinar will be short. All of my webinars are 20 minutes or less usually. Once in a while, I'll do a longer one if it's like a, basics of Medicare sales or something like that. But for something like this, we should be able to get through it pretty quickly. And having said that, let's get started. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, both platforms are enrollment sites for Medicare Advantage, Part D, and supplements. On both, you can compare plans, you can compare medications, doctors, and benefits. You can not only compare plans, but compare them to great detail. When you make a comparison, those comparisons can be emailed to prospects or current members. When you run medications, you can save drug lists. So unlike the CMS site where you have to create an account to save a drug list here, it's a login specifically to each agent, so that's your site. You can save drug lists. So for the following year, if you want to rerun their drugs against the Advantage plans or the Part D plans, no problem. You can just rerun it with the list. You can edit the list or do whatever you want. Sunfire allows you to save doctors' lists, which is really nice. And of course, you can compare benefits. You can, on both systems, enroll members electronically through text or email. The text feature has become really big. For a while, both systems only allowed email. But obviously, you get a lot of clients, even in today's day and age, that don't have email. They just rely on text. So it makes the text enrollment nice. Both companies have access to most major carriers for MAPD and PDP. I would say Connecture wins there. They have all the big name carriers. Sunfire, they're missing a few here or there, but they're both, because they're in competition with each other, I think that's been very helpful for us as agents, because they seem to really be both pushing hard to make updates on their system, add carriers, because they know that, obviously they've got a competitor. When you use these, it gives you access to all the carrier enrollments from one site, which is nice for somebody like myself personally. I like being able to just log into one place and then enroll into any plan, as opposed to using each company's enrollment app or each company's enrollment system. So it's all separate logins. I like having one. So to me, it's a huge time saver and makes life a lot easier. As I mentioned, both systems will save client info, drug lists. They'll save doctor lists, both of them. I'm going to clarify that in a minute. But they'll both save the lists. Both will give you access to copies of the enrollments and scopes, which is important. Both provide agents with specific URLs, so your own personal enrollment site. Let me explain for a minute. Connecture and Sunfire are both agent-facing, meaning the agent can go in, make comparisons, email them to a client, or send a link to a client, or send the comparison with a link. But they both also have personal URLs, client-facing sites that are coded to you. So if you're not familiar on either one, you can go and get your URL, and it's a site that the client would look at, that you can put on your website, on your email. It's a website that the client would look at. They can do all their own comparisons if they want. They can do everything on there, and if they enroll, you would be credited with that sale. So it's a client-facing as opposed to the broker-facing. So we'll talk about the highlights of Connecture to start, Connect for Medicare. I'll admit to my bias here. I started off using Connect for Medicare. Like a lot of people, I'm kind of a creature of habit. So that's the one I use more often, but that is really just because it's the one I started using from the beginning, not necessarily because it's better per se than Sunfire. But like anything else, it has some areas where I think it's better and some areas where it's not. We'll go over those now. So Connecture allows for a personalization of your URL. So both companies have URLs. And by URL, when I say URL, I mean the client-facing site. Your own enrollment site that you could put on your website or email. Connecture, they both have it, but Connecture allows it to be very personalized, whereas Sunfire, even though it's coded to you, it's kind of generic. Connecture allows you to quote DSNP plans on the URL, which is nice. You can choose a health status for clients. To a certain extent, the health status, that's a feature that's on the CMS site as well. More or less what that means is when somebody's comparing Advantage plans, if you put in the drug information, it'll show the drug costs on each plan, but also the site will use an algorithm, just like the CMS site, and it gives them their average spend medically on the plan. I don't find it very accurate at all. And in some cases, I think it just confuses people. They're saying, hey, why is this saying I'm going to spend $2,000? Well, it's not. It's just an algorithm and a guess. But nonetheless, that's what it does. You can, however, choose on there if this is a healthy person, a person of median health, or a person that's unhealthy. And it will adjust to that algorithm and the estimate based on that. Connecture also allows for Medicare supplement enrollments, which you'll see Sunfire does not. Sunfire will quote supplement plans, and it does to an extent allow an enrollment, but not as well as Connecture. So Connecture has all the major supplement carriers on it. They're adding a bunch of new ones as well, and you can enroll, and it's coded to you through Connecture. So you can do Advantage, Supplement, and Part D right through one site, which is nice. And again, we have a bunch of new people coming on. If you have questions, just send them into the webinar, and I will review and answer the questions at the end. Connecture has also added recently blue button functionality. I had to practice saying that. What that is it's a button you click to see all the plans. So I'll explain for a minute. Both Connecture and Sunfire, since they're approved enrollment platforms, they will only show companies on there that you are appointed with us and certified to sell. Because it's an enrollment platform, they can't have a company on there. They can't have somebody enrolling in a company that's coded to you if you're not certified to sell that company. So what Connecture did is they added a blue button. So that blue button, if you click it when you're using Connecture, it'll not only have the companies you're appointed and certified to sell, but it'll also have the ones that you're not appointed with or certified to sell for that matter. And it will show them on there. You can run the drug comparisons against it. You can compare it with the other plans. You can do everything on there. The only thing you can't do is enroll people with it. Because if you're not certified or contracted through us, it's not going to let you enroll. But what's nice is it does show those companies if you want. If you click the blue button, it will show them. That way you can see how, maybe some companies you don't have compare. However, if you don't want the client to see that, then you just don't click the blue button. So that is a really nice feature on Connecture that comes in handy. We asked for it for a long time, and they do have it on there now, and it works. So if you haven't tried it, you should. It comes in really handy. On Connecture, another thing they've added now is you can choose multiple pharmacies when running your RX comparisons. When you run it against an Advantage or Part D in the past, you only could choose one pharmacy. Now you can do multiple, which is great. Saves you time. In the past, you had to go in, run the drugs, you'd see which plan came out best, just like the CMS site. But if the person said, well, I also go to CVS, you had to click the back button, choose a different pharmacy, and hit run again. Now you can just do it all at the same time. It also has a DSNP filter. The DSNP filter is nice. You can filter out the dual plans if you want. The reason that's important is when you're running comparisons, when you put drugs in or just running benefit comparisons, when you have the DSNP plans in there for a client that isn't DSNP eligible, it's kind of misleading. So now you can filter those out if you want. There are certainly reporting features on the CRM side. I didn't even talk about the CRM part. Both Connecture and Sunfire will operate as CRMs for you. Since it's a unique login and password, it's specific to you, both companies. When you put in clients, drug lists, doctor lists, it will save all that. It does have reporting features off of it. So you can use Connecture as a basic CRM. So if you wanted a CRM, with Connecture or Sunfire, you really, for Medicare purposes, can have a free one because it's certainly not a super detailed CRM. It's not going to connect with, you're not going to be able to post leads into it, but it'll maintain all your client information, which is nice. HRAs are a big thing now. I did a webinar a few weeks back on HRAs. So the health risk assessment, the companies will obviously pay us to do them now. Anywhere from $40 to $75 per enrollment, depending on the company. So some agents don't use Connecture or Sunfire because you can't do the HRAs through them, and they want to get that extra $40 to $75 per enrollment. Connecture has Humana, so you've always been able to do Humana's HRA through Connecture, and now they're also soon adding Aetna and UHC. They let us know that a couple of weeks ago. So soon, you'll not only be able to do the enrollment through Connecture, but you'll be able to do the HRA through there as well for Humana, Aetna, and UHC. You can do Humana right now. If you have questions about the HRA, if you're not getting the HRA money on all your enrollments, it takes just a few minutes. I did a webinar on it a few weeks ago. I'd be happy to send that to you, and it goes over the details of an HRA. So that's Connecture. Talk about Sunfire. So again, as I mentioned before, kind of guilty as charged. I just always use Connecture. I have, in the last few months, used Sunfire a lot just to get familiar with it, kind of to help me do this webinar, really, quite frankly. And I can see why some people like it more. Connecture certainly has its advantages, but Sunfire has some as well. So one big thing I noticed right away is the enhanced provider search function on Sunfire. Let me try that again, enhanced provider search function. In other words, what that means is when you add a doctor's list to Sunfire, say there's 10 doctors, when you run the plans, then the Advantage plans, it will immediately show you for each plan what doctors are in each plan. So you don't have to check multiple sites or check multiple plans. It'll just immediately, based on that doctor list, show you, hey, these 10 doctors are in these 3 plans. These couple plans are missing a few. It'll give it to you all in one place, which is a huge time saver. A lot of times when my office now does doctor searches for people on Advantage plans, we use Sunfire for that because it's so much quicker. So you can create one provider list. It'll be saved. You can tweak it down the road, like when AEP comes and you need to check on a different plan for somebody. And again, it'll check all the companies at once. You also have the ability to pick different LIS levels. You can do that on Connecture as well. So whatever their level of LIS you can pick, it'll automatically adjust the plan, their drug spend, their copays, everything will be adjusted to the level of LIS the person has. If they're a full dual, it'll do it for a full dual versus QMB, ALMB. It'll adjust it to that level. What's nice about Sunfire is Sunfire will also adjust the premium on the Advantage plan, the Part D plan, where Connecture doesn't. So that is a nice thing. Not only does it adjust the spend, but it'll adjust the premium. Another nice feature about Sunfire is agents can highlight one plan when running comparisons. So If you're running a comparison and maybe you're going to send a 3-plan or 4-plan comparison to the client, and then they click the link for the one they want to enroll in, you can do that, but you can highlight one so that one sticks out and it compares all the other plans against that one. So now if you want to just send them one plan, you can just send them one, so that's all they can enroll in. But if you want to give them a comparison, the highlight button's nice because it's like, yeah, here are 4 plans, but here's the one I recommend. And also on Sunfire, you can choose a bit more detail on the health status. Like you can get specific with doc visits, ER, inpatient, home health care. Whereas on Connecture, it's kind of generic. You just pick the 3 health statuses. On Sunfire, you can drill down a little more, which is a nice feature. So I mentioned here on Sunfire that you can see which plans have dental, health, hearing, and OTC travel benefits as well on the plan comparison. You can do that on Connecture as well, but on Connecture, you got to drill down a little more to see that in the comparison. Sunfire, when you just run a zip code and choose 3 different plans to compare, it's on the initial comparison. So just immediately, boom, there it is. Sunfire has a lot more detail on their comparison initially versus Connecture, where you got to drill down a little more to see those details. I use both systems all the time. I certainly can't remember which plan has, which specific amount of dental or hearing. I do get, copays and things I can remember, but doing multiple states, you're like, okay, which plan had 1,500 versus 1,000 or 2,000 dental versus such and such, or, how much are they on the vision? It will list it quickly so you can look at the plans and you can know the dental benefits. You don't have to look it up. Sending scopes on Sunfire seems to be a bit easier. So on both systems, you can send scopes, certainly, email or text. Sunfire's is just a little quicker and easier. And one other thing that is nice on Sunfire is, with Connecture, when you send a scope, the client actually has to fill a couple things out. On Sunfire, you can complete the entire scope for them and then just send it to them for them to do the signature authorization. They just type their name in, basically. So I think Sunfire is a little easier in that regard because you can pre-fill out that scope as opposed to making them type in their name and their phone number kind of thing. Sunfire does have a ready-to-sell report. Oh, yeah, I should probably be a little more specific on that. So on Sunfire, you can click the ready-to-sell icon, and it will show all the companies you have. It'll show all the states, and it'll show your ready-to-sell status with each company in every state on a grid. Super duper handy. We get calls all the time here with an agent saying, hey, am I ready to sell with Humana in Arkansas? And we have to look it up and find out. Sunfire will do that for you right on the fly, which is nice. So Sunfire does have a good, well, I said good, it doesn't. I mean, Sunfire has a Medicare supplement enrollment system in it, but it's not a great one. Connecture definitely wins there. So Sunfire will run the supplements. It'll compare the plans. There'll be a button to enroll, but really all that button on Sunfire is doing is taking you to the company site, coding you as the broker for sure, but taking you to the company site and then making you basically duplicate all the information. It won't automatically feed it over versus Connecture will automatically feed that info over, so you don't need to duplicate that effort and enter it again. So in my mind, Connecture is a lot better on the supplement side in that regard. Okay, I have 119, not trying to run on too long here. Future changes for both, as I mentioned earlier, they're both heavily in competition with each other. I mean, they're more or less the only 2 games in town, and they know it. So I think that's really kind of push the envelope with both of them and really push them to be much more competitive and quickly add benefits and constantly be trying to improve their system. Connecture, you certainly see a difference in their attitude since Sunfire came on the scene, so that's a good thing for us. They are both fast-tracking the ability to do your HRAs right through their systems because they know their enrollment for both platforms has exploded with COVID. I mean, they've more than quadrupled the amount of enrollments they've done this year, and they know that number will grow even quicker if you can get your HRA money through there. So they're both really charging fast to be able to add the HRA function. So another recent change they did is they both added the ability to get the scope by text as well as email. So at first you only could email the scope. Now you can email or text it, which is nice. Okay, so an important question is how to access both. Well, it's easy. So we have both sites, and again, you can access both for free. All you have to do is go to Pinnacle's site, www.pfsinsurance.com, and just click on the Enroll button, and you'll see the tab to get on both. Or you can go to www.connectformedicare.com, and even though it's Connect for Medicare, that site will give you the link to access both Connecture and Sunfire. So you can access both sites that way. You will need a username and password. So if you have contracts with us, you already have one, even if you don't know it, just call us up and we'll get it for you, username and password, and there's one for each site. Obviously, the limitation here is these enrollments, you can only enroll people with contracts they have through us. If you have a contract through a different upline, it's not going to work through our Connecture or Sunfire enrollment. The other thing I wanted to mention is Connecture has the blue button now, which I mentioned before. So you can click that blue button and it'll show you even the carriers you don't have, which is, I think, probably the biggest addition and a really nice feature. So overall, I think either system is essential if you're selling by phone. It's really hard to sell by phone unless you're a approved call center, which we do have some agencies that are doing that. We have a team that will set up agencies to be an approved call center. But unless you're an approved call center, you really, for phone enrollments, you need to have one of these. It makes life a lot easier. The doc find on Sunfire is a huge time saver. I mentioned about the HRAs in both systems. So what I would say is try both, see which one you like better. Again, it's usually 50-50. Half the people like Connecture better, half like Sunfire better. With us, it doesn't matter. You can use either one. So just use the one you're more comfortable with and you think works better for you. Make sure you're using your pearls. So the client-facing personal enrollment sites, they're really handy if you think about it. If you have a website, I get a lot of agents that call me saying, I have a website and I'd like to have a comparison engine and an enrollment engine on there. The pearls, you can add them right in there and you've got one ready to go. If you try to get your own approved and made, it's very time-consuming and expensive. This is ready for you to go. And any enrollments done through there will be credited to you. The Pearl is used a ton on Facebook ads. So we've, in the past, had a lot of agents that would do Facebook ads, and on the ad it would say, click here for a quote. Well, the person would enter their contact information so the agent could have a lead to contact them. But when they would enter it, they wouldn't read the fine print, and the prospect then wouldn't actually get their quote, so they'd be kind of disgruntled. So yeah, you'd call them, but you're calling them kind of on a false pretense. They were trying to get a quote, it tricked them, they entered their contact information and didn't get the quote. Using the Pearl, you can do the same thing, say enter your information here to get a quote. They can actually, then when they click, it'll redirect to your Pearl. They can compare plans, they can enroll if they want, and they can get their quotes. So then when you call them, they're not as on edge because they don't feel like they've been tricked. They clicked, they got their quote. They're probably confused and don't know what to enroll in, and then your call works a little better. So the pearls are really important for things like Facebook, where you got the get a quote feature to try to get leads. That's it. Other than losing my voice there for a minute, I think we did pretty well. It's 1:24. Let me see if we have any questions. Let's see. Okay, so we do have some questions here. So can Medicare supplement enrollments be done through Connecture? Yes. Yes, they can. Which one is, good questions. Which one is better as a CRM? Can you input new prospects and upload current clients? Well, I think they both work pretty well as a CRM. I think maybe Connecture is a little better there. I could be biased, but they both have CRM functions. Certainly you can add new prospects whenever you want in there. You just add the name. It's quick and easy to do. Add the name, contact information if you want. As far as uploading existing clients, no, you can't do that yet. I'm sure they will probably add that feature at some point, but right now you have to add them one by one. Does your firm offer both agents at no cost? Yes. So we offer both. You have access to both Connecture and Sunfire with us at absolutely no cost. Does Sunfire currently have any HRA capability? No, they don't. Right now, Connecture has Humana, and within a few months, they've told us they're going to be adding Aetna and United. Sunfire doesn't have that feature right now, but they're working on it currently. Can the Pearl do Medicare supplements also? Yes. So both Pearls can do Medicare subs. Connecture does it better because in Connecture, you don't have to duplicate the effort. Once the information is entered, it's transferred over to the company site to be enrolled and you're credited with the sale. Sunfire really right now, they enter their information. It does take them over if they want to enroll in a supplement, it does take them over to the company site, but then they basically have to enter the information again. So Connecture is a little better in that regard. So overall, I think Connecture has some more functionality. Sunfire is certainly more friendly to use. And if you look at both of them, I think you'll see what I mean. Next question. Can you export your client data in case you need to switch CRMs? Yes, you can export client data on both systems. Those are really good questions. Let's see if we have any more. Is Sunfire Medicare supplement capability sufficient versus Connecture? No, I think Connecture is better. Just to be straightforward, I think Connecture does a better job with the sup enrollments versus Sunfire. It looks like that's all we have. As I mentioned, I do record these webinars, so everybody will get a recording. Future webinars, if you want to do one but can't attend, just simply register. And if you register and don't attend, you'll still get the recording from us. See if we have any other questions here. I'll do one last check. No other questions. So if something comes up, if you want to talk to us, you can see our contact info there. Certainly just give us a call or send us an email. And I appreciate you attending today. Thanks for coming on, and I hope everybody has a great day and a great weekend. Thanks. Bye.